Mohamed Shukri is the first Arabic to be accredited speaker by Toastmasters International.
I'd rather live my speech and not give it than give my speech and not live it. I'd rather live my speech and not give it than give my speech and not live it. Live your life, speak what you live, and you will bring hearts and minds to life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. I really missed this actually. Today, I have one of the elite speakers in the Kingdom of Bahrain. I have the privilege to host one of the Distinguished Toastmasters of Bahrain. His achievements speak for itself. His records and past experience are moving from club to club, generation to generation. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the first Arabic or Middle Eastern to reach the finalist in the Toastmasters International Championship in Washington, D.C. in 2006, and he became the final 10 contender. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have the privilege to host the Distinguished Toastmaster Mohamed Shukri.
Hi, Mohammed. You're calling me as if I'm on the stage there. The way you're calling me. Thank you. You just brought back good memories. It's good to be with you, Mohammed.
Thank you so much, first of all, to come here. I really appreciate your time, and I really want to dig in about knowing yourself and knowing yourself behind the scenes. Before we start going to talk about you and the achievement, let me introduce a little bit about you for the benefit of the guests that the first time they are watching or viewing this episode or watching our channel. Let us discuss way back. I want to go before you had the passion of speaking. What was your like?
So I burst many people's bubbles when they say what a good speaker, how did you make this in 1 year? But I like to burst their bubble and say I used to practice speaking way before the Toastmasters tournament in 2006. But your question is even deeper. Before you speak, what were you doing? I was a happy first boy and first child in my family. My father and mother, gladly, God bless their souls, Allah yarhamhum, they made me a happy child. Like anything that I wanted to invent, anything that I wanted to play in a different way, I was allowed to do that. I used to come up with ideas to express myself, and I used to be very happy in my childhood doing whatever I want with magazines, from school, playing basketball, and doing so many projects in the neighborhood with my neighbors, my friends. So that released a very happy spirit. Generally, I mean, nobody's happy all the time. So yeah, I can say I was a very happy boy. And then the time came when I was a teenager, I remember, in the neighborhood, and someone offered me to speak. I mean, he offered all the 5 of us boys sitting in that corner, and he said, I need someone to be the MC, Master of Ceremony.
Master of Ceremony, yeah.
But at that time, I didn't know what's MC. So all 5 of us, and we knew it's a speaking role. Some ceremonies going on soon, and they want someone to be the MC. For the benefit of the listeners, MC is someone who introduces the speakers, and he is not the speaker. And nobody accepted out of the 5. No way I'll go behind that microphone. I don't know why, but I said, me? You know, I was that hesitant. And they immediately said, okay, you're the MC. I said, I'll be the MC. But what's an MC? I don't know what's an MC. I just said yes, and then I discussed with teachers here and there, and I became an MC. Since then, I didn't stop being an MC, and by progressing, etc., I was one of the best MCs, most favorite ones in Bahrain. Then came Toastmasters, and you know the history from there, Mohammed.
Wow, such a fascinating. Now, before you had this, my question for you is, what drive you to accept that challenge? Is that you just said that you were hesitant and you didn't know what was it. So is that because you love challenges? What was the rationale behind you take that step?
I don't know. Some people say maybe you're born in November or you're Scorpio, but let's leave those signs alone. I have that very adventurous soul. I mean, sometimes it becomes reckless. I say yes to things I shouldn't say yes. But, you know, there must be a margin of error. If you go into adventure, you should accept a margin of loss, a margin of failure. And without that, you cannot achieve huge success. So I said yes. I say to many things yes. And I am glad that not many things succeeded, but the ones that worked with me, they changed all my life. So I say yes to many, including this podcast, by the way.
What a great way to articulate this and bring the spot on me. Actually, I was fascinating, and I had said this off record just before we record this episode. I was discussing with the, obviously, we as a Toastmaster call DTM is Distinguished Toastmaster for the benefit of the listeners. So we heard a lot of a story of you, and I mean really a lot. I can see that you're looking to the ant. I'm looking to.
There's an ant.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. What a good distraction.
So, I heard a lot of you. I heard there is one guy. He break everything. He break all the records. He was the first Arabic to reach this level, and I was like, So, being yourself and reach that level, I'm sure you didn't had this earlier. Is that true?
No, actually, I didn't. And public speaking is something that you're not born with, but you grow, you build, and it takes time. Public speaking needs a lot of patience. So I built it along the time. I loved it. As part of me, it's really. Speaking is part of the equation. The equation is not only speaking, it's expressing. The bigger word is being expressive. So I used to express myself through innovative projects, games, and a lot of things. Then speaking was something, I loved language as well. So speaking became one of the best ways I could express myself. All right. So I forgot what was the question.
I really love the way, even though you forgot the question, but still you carry on and talked, and you draft a speech, even though that you realize that, hey, by the way, I forgot what was the question itself. I was amazed, like, oh my god, like
I don't want the audience to think that I just speak for no purpose. So please remind me.
No, actually, my question was, before you found your passion as a speaker, what is the main drive for you to be a speaker?
There is a beautiful sentence I heard from one of the big entrepreneurs in the world. I don't know, say it's not Jeff Bezos, someone else, but he said success is jumping from the airplane and making your parachute on the way down. You know, sometimes you don't have to know what's next. Sometimes you want to do this for the sake of itself so badly. Sometimes the doing is so rewarding that you're not looking for any reward. You know, if we are fixated on the outcome always, then we will do nothing almost if we are not sure the outcome will happen. But this is how a lot of artists, a lot of painters. Today I met a student in my workshop and I said, for what do you paint? She said, for nothing. for people to watch? No, I just do it for myself. I love doing that. All right. So the ant, can we just take the ant out?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, she wants a way out, right? I think she's looking for the way out.
That's so embarrassing.
No, it's okay. It makes your podcast so memorable among all the other podcasts, all right? Okay. She's finding a way out. Anyway.
Is she okay? There might be one of the viewers like we are anti things. You can't kill this.
Good. Okay, I'm against killing ants, but this one is bothering me. Anyway, so
okay, I'll take care of it.
All right, don't kill her.
I didn't kill her. I just squeezed her.
poor thing.
Oh my God.
So. And also there's an important thing. When you say before you take up speaking, you didn't say that exactly, but people look at speaking as a career. No, it's a means. If you want to look at speaking as a job, a vocation that I do and do nothing else, okay, there is an industry, very narrow industry, full-time speaker, which I can barely call myself full-time speaker because I don't only do speaking. The reality is, however, that speaking is for everyone. I know you're hosting me here and you're saying I broke records, etc. because I love speaking a lot and I can express a lot of my ideas, my expertise, and I can give a lot of solutions that I know to companies through speaking. But speaking is just a tool. Therefore, anyone who listens to us can use speaking, not necessarily the full way I do it, but at least at a portion that can push and nudge your career and take you closer to your goals. So speaking doesn't have to be, a treasure. I found this treasure and only Mohammed found it, or so-and-so found it, all right? No, anyone can own speaking. Anyone can start speaking the moment he hears us, Toastmaster or not. All right. So I really urge anyone who hears us to try that, to speak to more than the people he speaks every day, and to speak to a larger audience than the ones he speaks to, and watch how this affects your career.
Such a fascinating. Now, when you take that rule, I mean, when you started speaking, before you start joining a Toastmaster, were there a goal or a passion, or did you had a clarity over what do you want to do, or it's something that you find it enjoy while doing and continuously do it?
Since I started for the sake of volunteering, when you're a volunteer, usually you do it for good causes, right? So the reward was in itself to help the community, to be part of something bigger than you. So, and you're not paid for it. And I'm glad that this unleashed my power of speaking, and the speaking itself was rewarding. So there you go. You are in a volunteer way, doing this for a volunteer cause. And also you feel rewarded by itself. It's very rewarding by itself. So both of them were enough for me to excel and improve without having conditions. Oh, I didn't make enough money here, so I'm not speaking. I'm not making money there, so I'm not speaking. Okay, I have those calculations now. But before that, I'm glad that, 12 to 14 years of my life, I did this pro bono. And then career came.
What do you mean by pro bono?
Pro bono, when you speak or you do a service without a monetary or financial reward.
It's like a volunteer, in other words.
Like a volunteer. Maybe you get another means of rewards. Maybe there is some sort of marketing, for example, for you. Maybe there is some sort of service to the people you want to serve. So many things. But pro bono means not getting paid for it. Simple as that.
Interesting.
And by the way, anyone who wants to go in professional speaking, you will do more pro bono than paid. If you want to get there, you have to do more pro bono than paid, at least in the beginning, if you want to get there.
Fascinating. And what was the rationale since you start this pro bono and start getting outside and start speaking to people? What was the rationale for you to join the Toastmaster? Or how did you heard about Toastmaster?
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I was working in my company Alba since 1993 in power station. Then I was promoted to the safety department exactly after 10 years. That's 2003. Let's say 2004 I joined the safety department. And we had a big challenge at that time. There was an expansion of line 5 in Alba, whole production line. And, a lot of projects, a lot of people coming and going. So the safety department was really busy because we had to secure a lot of people's lives, people's well-being, and of course the assets of the company while the huge build-up is happening and expansion. So our department encouraged us to join the Toastmasters Club. Excuse me, what is the Toastmasters Club? What is the Toastmasters Club? You didn't hear about the Toastmaster Club? My colleagues told me. No, what is a Toastmaster Club? We have a Toastmaster Club in Alba. It's the first corporate club in Bahrain. So Alba has initiated a Toastmasters Club, mainly by people from safety, but also HR and etc. Why? My manager said, who was a DTM also from South Africa, he said, Mohammed, join the Toastmasters Club of Alba. Because if you're going to spread safety and if you're going to be influential, persuasive, and get people on the right, with the right message, you need to join Toastmasters. So I visited the club and I couldn't believe my eyes that there was such an organization, there was such a club per se, that you can practice public speaking and learn from it and give others feedback and receive feedback. That was a dream come true. Hence, I came to know Toastmasters International. I joined Alba Toastmasters Club.
In 2004?
2004.
Okay. And what was your first experience? Can you recall your first meeting?
Oh, that's a really good question, because speaking for more than 12 years and having a good mastery over English, what would be it? How difficult would it be? So my first icebreaker is the first speech any member delivers. Is 6 minutes about myself. I prepared well and I said, I will master this thing. And it was a big blow, big failure for me in my first speech. Because when you come to Toastmasters, no matter how good you are, you have to beat what I call something called the red light. Now, you're a Toastmaster, you know that, right?
Not really, to be honest. Maybe I know it, but maybe because of our generation is different. Maybe we have a different terminology.
No, it's the same. So let's not go very far.
All right.
It is the timing light.
Okay.
So we have, the green, the yellow, and then the red. The red is when you reach 7 minutes or 6 minutes, the normal speeches. So I was only quarter in my speech and the red light showed. I was surprised. I didn't cover any part of my speech. So it was a big failure for me and a good wake-up call. And since then, I said, okay, this is Toastmasters. There are rules and I need to go by them. And I raised my standard. And next year, I couldn't participate in the World Championship. I also heard that there is a World Championship. Couldn't participate because I didn't finish 6 speeches. I think that was the rule. Then 2005, I participated and got lucky. From the first attempt, reached all the way to the finals.
Wow, such a fascinating. So talk me through that process when you started and you started to get understanding the rules of Toastmasters and, having that vision of developing yourself. Since just you mentioned, you've been 12 years practicing speaking. However, when you put under circumstance and some rules to follow, you find yourself that you're not good as you thought. So my question is, when you had that in mind, was it in your mind to reach the finalist, or was it in your mind to, what was in your mind when you participated that?
So I came to know after some time that we don't only go through regular meetings, which are every 2 weeks. And in every meeting, of course, we learn a lot of things. Some of your podcast sessions showed that. So I'm not going to elaborate on this, but it's a place where you learn leadership and communication through different roles. And then I came to know there is a world championship of public speaking. It's the biggest public speaking competition in the world. It's been there for more than 80 years. And I said, I want to be part of this, but I wasn't eligible. So there are annual contests starting from club level. There are 4 contests. One is called the humorous speech contest. One is called the evaluation contest. If you evaluate a speaker, and then they will see who's the best evaluator. Simple. And then there is the table topics contest, where you are given a question on the spot and you need to answer without preparation in 2.5 minutes maximum. And finally, and most importantly, maybe the most famous one, popular one, is the international speech contest. Is that inspiring speech, which is 5 to 7 minutes. All these categories are done for 4 levels. So club level, then there's the area level, which means a number of clubs. If you win on the area level, then you go to the division level, which is a number of areas. So it becomes tougher and tougher until you reach to the district level. That's the 4th level. District means a number of countries or a number of divisions, all right? So all these 4 contests are done and celebrated and run until the district level. Then we stop there. Only international speech contestants proceed to the next level, which is the regional level, we call it now, or semifinals also. So I reached to the semifinals and then booked my ticket in the finals in Washington, D.C. So international speech contest, it's something as it's called international. You talk about something inspiring to everyone. It has some rules and there's a judging criteria. More than 25,000 Toastmasters members across the globe participate in the World Championship tournament yearly. So you have to cross all of those to reach to the final.
Wow.
All right.
So inspiring. So if I bring you back to that moment where you decided to go for the competition and compete in that, what was your aim? Is it like to flagship Bahrain as one of the champions or one of the country that may, like, speaking of this, because you were the first Arabic person to reach there. So my question for you, what was in your head before you do this competition? So is it to be an international level competition, or just to prove yourself, or to prove to the community? What was the real aims or the goals or objective that in your head before prior proceeding to that championship?
I'm glad, Mohammed, that I didn't have a list of goals, because I would stress a lot about them. All right. And let me tell everyone who participates in these things, many of the goals you put in competitions are not up to you. It's out of your control. So if you want to beat all the contestants, you cannot be certain you can beat, because so many elements are there. So for me, I want to say that at that time, I just wanted to win. Yeah, I love winning, all right? And I love speaking. And I love the art of speaking. And also, I wanted to inspire audiences. So that is another goal. And I had a clear goal that if I speak, whether I win or not, I must inspire the people in front of me, 20 or 2,000 people. So I loved inspiring people. And the good thing is that I didn't copy any style in Toastmasters International competition. I was glad that my coaches stripped me from all the CDs at the time, CDs of the past championships. Don't watch those. You have your own unique style. I said, okay. So I went with my own style. So one of the most beautiful things in Washington that happened is that the champions who were there, current and previous champions, American champions, several of them told me that the topic and the style you brought is something so new to us. And you spoke about what? You spoke about your wife in that manner? You know, I told my story with my wife. The speech was called Talk to Me. We haven't heard anyone, and he wanted to say an Arab.
But indirectly, it's like...
Yeah, who speak like this about their wives. Wow, they were very respectful, by the way. So that was a victory in itself, although I didn't snatch the trophy, but it was a huge breakthrough for me, that our own style, our own topics, our own ideas, we can bring them there. We don't have to be best in speaking in an American English. We don't have to be. I mean, my accent is very clear and strong, as you can hear now. And yet I reached there, and I was one of the top 10. All the others were Americans, and everybody was very respectful, and my message went through. So it's more expressing than speaking, really. How do you express and communicate?
Wow. Now, I want to jump into the one thing that caught my attention, actually. When you said inspire, in your dictionary or in your perspective, what do you mean exactly by inspire?
So inspiring, people use them in so many contexts, all right? And they mix it with motivating. You know, when you motivate, you actually say something and urge people, and with your wording and your advice and your uplifting words, let us say, you make them do something. I want you to not waste a minute in your life and start. This is motivating, all right? Inspiring, on the other hand, you do not need to tell people what to do. You inspire them with who you are, what you've done, and they will know. Let us talk about the ant. That was the ant that was crawling on our.
Do you mean the murdered ant?
Sometimes if we look closer to an ant's life or how it behaves, the ant doesn't speak to you, all right, but it speaks to you through its behavior. You get inspired, and you say, "This ant is working so hard in summer so that it can, store food for itself." And they never give up. And if you look closer and reflect, and you kick away all the other voices and distractions and look at the ant, and you say, wow, my life needs to be like this ant. If you do that, you are inspired by the ant. You can be inspired by anything and everything in your day if you choose to. But motivation is something else. So when we go on stage, we take a lot of time to share with people where we were and where we reached, all right? The ups and downs, the fragility, the vulnerability, all the 9 yards. And then people will choose which part to be inspired of, rather than motivating and being specific of, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. Okay, no matter how Tony Robbins' style you are. Inspiration is a totally different game. Like before we start the podcast, I was inspired with your story, your background, where you started, and how difficult it was, and the tough decisions you took and never gave up. And you had to fight for your future. All right? It was inspiring. You didn't give me a single advice. But I will leave tonight inspired by Mohammed.
Wow. I really relieved when I hear such a thing, especially from well-known, or I would say, let me rephrase this, elite, one of the elite speakers in the region of MENA. So I have a couple of questions before. I know maybe some of the viewers or listeners are not Toastmasters. So just for the benefit of them, and also to gain an idea as well, so that they can benefit and I can benefit as well. couple of Toastmasters are watching right now, I'm sure of, but they would love to know that. So during this contest of from area, country, region, do you have to stick with one speech, or do you have to change them? And every time you can come with different speech.
So as long as I stayed there in the tournament for the 2 years, 2006 and 7, and few years later, the rule was we should have at least 3 speeches, something like this. 3 speeches, yeah. If you reach this to district level, which is level 4, then you can no longer use that speech in the semifinals. Let us say. So you have to throw the district speech. Then you have semifinals and finals. You cannot use the same speech in semifinals, finals. So there you go. It's 3 speeches.
3 speeches.
Now I heard, I'm not sure with the very latest adjustments, but after that, I heard that you can use 2 speeches. Through the rules, it can be identified. So anyway, 2 or 3 speeches, it's a big challenge because you cannot afford to lose any of the levels. Whatever speech you take, you have to win, or you don't go to the next level. And there is a challenge for you to choose which speech to deliver in stage 1 and which to keep to the next stage, and whom are you going to face. So many variables that you have no idea. So the rule is do your best at every level. Give your best at every level.
Wow. Now, my question for you is, what is the one speech that inspires you the most and closest to your heart?
Of course, it's Baba. Baba is the first speech I used. First speech in my competing life. I delivered it in club and I won all the way till district. It's the dearest speech in my life, and it was something different than any way a person speaks about his father. It was Baba. I just met someone a few weeks back, and he says, I still remember Baba speech. We are 2024. I delivered it in 2005. So that's 19 years. And several Toastmasters, elite Toastmasters, seniors, they still remember Baba. So that's the dearest one. Totally out of the box, the way I delivered it. And I'm glad I didn't follow any pattern. It was a pattern that I didn't see before. But it's the way I processed it in my head, in my heart. That I delivered it exactly the way I see myself, my relationship with my late father. I delivered it exactly the same way I feel inside, without bringing an edited a format of it outside, trying to edit it in a way that it fits the framework of other speeches. No, I didn't do that. I didn't play with it. I just delivered it the way it is. And there is no framework, by the way, because in art, you draw, the frame comes later, right?
Yeah, I can totally relate. Especially when the process of creating a speech. However, I know my process to deliver a speech. I want to know your process, to know what is the process that you go, for example, in order to create brand new speech or
Very
from
good.
scratch.
Very good. So let's be very specific. You said create a speech.
Correct.
All right. So in my book, you don't create a speech. You don't deliver a speech. Your speech delivers you. If you sit down and think to squeeze a speech from your head, you're not speaking. If you have to force a speech to come out, you're not speaking. You're not performing the art of public speaking. A speech has to be there in you. You just cannot find it, all right? The speech is actually building up and growing like a baby in you, and it will become too heavy too big to stay inside of you, so you have to
Let's go.
let go. And that is the labor. So I call a speech, it's like a mother and a child in a womb. So the speech will find you. You don't find a speech. And that's why I say many speeches actually are, they are not fabricated. They are true stories, but they are forced. So I came up with a model. It's called the life in your speech, because many people asked me later in my career, how do you come up with these strange speeches? I said, I don't come up with them. They find me and I throw them out. And then I had to study what did I do all the way back and what took me to the finals so quickly. I didn't have a model. I didn't have a pattern. I didn't study myself. I should have, but I didn't. Only after people asked, teach us. I said, okay, what to teach you? I like speaking, not teaching speaking, right? Totally different things. So it took me years to find out and came up with a model. And then after the model, I found the model, I followed myself. How do I do? How do I really find speeches? And I taught others and I coached others. Some of them got, won contests. Some of them achieved a lot in their lives, in their speaking career. And so I became confident that the model does not only work for me, but works for others. It's a deep model, but its basic is that you have something in your life that you lived and you decided to speak about it. Now, if you lived it and if you proved it's working, then you can speak about it. But if you have an idea that you believe in an idea, but you haven't lived it, you should not speak about it. I believe in something, but have you lived it? Many people believe truly, honestly, in many things, and they speak about it, but they haven't shown solid evidence of living them. So I restricted myself when I was young, by the way. I will never speak about anything I haven't done. I had this rule before Toastmasters.
Even before Toastmasters?
Before Toastmasters, when I was very young. It was something in my culture, especially in my Islamic culture. I wouldn't say anything I didn't do. It's there in the Holy Quran. يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لِمَا تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Why do you say something you haven't done? So I put a rule, strict rule on myself. I will never catch the microphone and say something I didn't do. So I was left with very few topics, things that happened in my life, and I learned from them. If they happen and I learn from them, then I will allow myself to speak about them. So few topics, but they found huge impact, because I speak from a space and a place of life. And that's what speaking comes from your life. If it doesn't come from your life, it's a dead speech. And hence the model is called the life in your speech. The model is called the life in your speech, how to find life in your speech. And then I found in Dale Carnegie's book, The Art of Public Speaking, it's to me the Bible of public speaking, Dale Carnegie. In Arabic or English, please read it. He said exactly this. I was astonished. He said, a speaker has only two reasons to speak, and not a third reason. If you have either of those reasons, you are allowed to speak to audiences. Number one, if you studied the subject thoroughly, you are allowed to speak about something to audiences if you studied the subject thoroughly. The other reason that makes you eligible to speak is that you have experienced what you're speaking about. So let's say there's a dietitian, he or she can speak about nutrition and all this stuff if they studied it very well, not necessarily applied. Or you can listen to someone who has fought obesity and proved overcoming the challenges 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and they can give you their experience. So there you go. Two reasons only. Otherwise, if you didn't study, didn't experience, please sit with the audience. don't pick up the mic.
To be honest with you, if I have to walk the talk, as they said, you really, and what I mean by walk the talk, when I have through your perception of inspiration, I know it's the meaning of it, but I wanted to drill down to understand your exactly perspective. You really inspire me to do next speech onto living the speech through experiences and things I've done. And you created something that ignites my thoughts that I never thought of before. And I can't tell you how much my brain racing at the moment. I completely it takes me away from the conversation itself and imaginative that, wow, I never thought of this before. This is extremely new to me, although I've been in public speaking for a couple of years now. However, I never got this inspired to bring experiences to life and
that's
to
all you need to
entertain
do, Mohammed. And that story you told me about yourself, that's enough. I mean, you can put it in bits and pieces and make mini speeches here and there, because every part you said deserves a speech to be told. So when you go to people and tell them what happened, I'm here to tell you what happened, they will be inspired.
By the way, I to be honest, I had also watched the video that you've been to the finalists with the, I don't know whether this is the one you told me, I mean, talk to me, where you had drafted the papers and you read them and you throw them. Your style was so unique. It is very hard to distinguish that you've been there only for 2 years. That's itself an achievement. So if I link what you had said, because I did my research. I mean, but I never thought before I host you today and being here in the podcast, I never thought that you were in Toastmaster 2 years only prior to reach a competition and reach that level. So the question is, why you stepped down from reaching that goal?
Okay, so I gave up, yes. And after 2 years, something happened that life challenges became a bit too many, more than I can handle. And being a father of 5,
MashaAllah.
And I'm not saying Toastmasters is a distraction, if you can manage your time, really. But I needed to take a decision to pursue speaking not only in Toastmasters. So after some time, Mohammed, coming back from Washington in 2006 and Arizona in 2007, as a safety speaker, I was called more often than not in places outside Toastmasters. So this guy who speaks about safety, bring him on. So other departments started calling me more outside my department. Other companies hosting me to speak about safety. Other conferences outside Bahrain are hosting me, and you speak for free in conferences anyway, usually. So I discovered that I can speak not necessarily inside Toastmasters only, but I can speak about my profession, my expertise, something I know and I studied and experienced, and enjoy the designing of beautiful portraits of public speaking that inspires people in my industry. And I discovered a new thing is unleashing. One day, one of the general managers in my company invited me in a Ramadan majlis. You know, in Ramadan, we have a lot of gatherings and majalis, we call them. This was a family company who had one of the nights, they made a special gathering for their employees, Arab and expats. So the owner of the company and the head of the family was there. So my general manager had relations with them. And he said, Mohammed, can we invite you to speak there? Inspirational speech. What shall I say? You are very inspiring just to speak about something.
Be yourself.
Yeah. So I know what I do. I tell stories, and I went there in Ramadan, and everybody was happy, clapping for me. I excused myself to go because this is, after all, a company gathering. My general manager left the majlis and he walked me out. Before I get into my car, he thanked me and he gave me a gift. That gift was an envelope. In that envelope was money.
Obviously. But that,
Unexpected, Mohammed. I spoke for, by that time, maybe I finished 18 years of speaking, most of it voluntary, and the rest in Toastmasters and inside my company as a safety practitioner. And I have never got an amount of money, payment for, or fees for giving a speech. That was the first time. He said, please take that. It's a gift from the owner. You did a good job and thank you very much. That was a turning point in my life. I can be paid. They value speaking. Speaking can be valued. The funniest part is, next day, I was called by the CEO of that family company. He's Indian. He said, can we meet in my office? So I went in his office. Now my general manager doesn't know that. And I went to him. He has offered me a job. Imagine this. He was in the majlis. He's Indian. I delivered a half an hour English speech. He calls me the next day and offers me a job. Because I spoke for half an hour. If you, again, I will emphasize, if you're listening to this, if you speak from your life, of course, I have some tighter criteria. What is life exactly when you speak about it? But if you choose to speak about something that you have done and lived and deliver it in an artistic way, because art is important, not only just the story, but art, people will look upon you more than just a speaker. He is someone we can trust. He is someone with credibility. He is someone we can rely on in our mission, in our operation. Since then until now, speaking was very key in getting my business deals, in getting the next proposal, project. Of course, not always, but most of the time the rule applies. I might have the best idea, I can be the best consultant, I can have the best solution, but if I cannot present it well, I'm not there.
Yeah, I totally agree and relate to what you said. Now, saying that you had your speech ready, you had your idea, and you have put your authentic touches here and there, and you inject it with personal story to back it up. The story, and then you give the moral of the story, and you draft all of this. What is your process to prepare to present that speech?
All right, very good. That's a very good insider question. You want to get inside my head. I actually, the good news is I am not inventing a new way, and I studied a lot. Even until now, I studied a lot of TED Talks. I read a lot of books. And Toastmasters itself is a very good resource, by the way. If you're a Toastmaster, you should really value being there. And if you're not, explore it. The bottom line is, like anything, I'll give a general rule to anyone who's listening, speech or not. If you're building anything, writing a book, building a house, making this table, anything, making the next meal, what is the rule, Mohammed? Who said it? Stephen Covey in his book, The 7 Habits. And he keeps saying it also. Begin with the end in mind. See, the carpenter made this table. But before he makes this table out of wood, he had it in his mind. The person who created this microphone and whatever gadgets that are, documenting this podcast, each one of them, each engineer, each designer, to be more specific, actually saw it first in its eventual in its end product shape and form, then he started from zero. So if you want to write a good speech, you imagine the end. What is the end? You take a piece of paper, all right, and write this thing, a pen and paper, and write this thing. What do I want the audience, when I'm done with the speech, what do I want my audience to think, do, or feel? Put these three questions: think, do, feel. Try to imagine, if I finish this speech, what do I want them to think differently than they thought before? Because, by the way, you don't speak for them to stay the same way. You want to create a change, a transformation, right? You're not just showcasing. So what is the change I want them to do in their cognitive level, intellectual level? What new rules, new concepts I want to introduce and convince them? Number two, how do I want them to feel differently? Because feeling is important. If they are doing something which is not helping their career, so what do you want them? So you need to make them feel differently. And finally, what do you want them to do when they leave the room today and start doing what or stop doing what? List them clearly. When you put these ends, you will start crafting your speech in a more focused and more structured and more impactful way. Everything else we learn in Toastmasters already. A speech is opening, body, and conclusion. So I start from the conclusion. I don't start from the opening. And I teach everyone how to start crafting your speech from the conclusion. Begin with the end in mind. If you write the conclusion properly, then your speech will fall beautifully in that line of, there wasn't an ant, it was my hand. Okay? Fall beautifully to serve the conclusion. I hope that helped.
So what is that? Now you're telling me about how to basically come up with or not drafting, is basically putting or connecting these dots where you will start from the conclusion up to the introduction. But what is the process for your preparation?
All right. So same. What can I say? Same. I take a piece of paper and I write, if I'm invited. Of course, I don't accept any invitation if it doesn't fall under one of the two reasons: something I studied, something I know, or something I have done. All right. And then I sit and ask about the audience. Of course, I ask about the audience, who's coming, who's listening, who will be listening to the recording, for example, etc. Because at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about who will get that. Okay, who will benefit from it? The art of public speaking, the definition is speaking to audiences in order. It's in Wikipedia. I love that definition anyway. It's the art of public speaking is speaking to groups in order, in the purpose of influencing them. So there is influence. So if you stop at speaking to audiences and you say, I'm a public speaker, I speak to audiences. No. If you speak without the intention of influencing and planning to influence and making influence happen as much as you can, then that's not public speaking if you don't do that. So I think, who's coming? What is their problem? Who has arranged the meeting? Not only who's coming that night or that day, but who arranged that meeting? For example, a company says, I want you to speak to my employees. So I have two audiences now, the company and the employees. I dig deep and I ask both, what is it you're looking for? Why do you want to do this? All right. And if I do this, like a doctor, he diagnoses first. Where exactly is the problem? Then he prescribes the medicine. A speaker should not say, yay, I have a speaking engagement. Lucky me, I'm ready. I have so many programs. Don't do that. You have to cater for the audience and give them what they are here for. And I learned this the hard way, by the way. I really fell on my face. I went and I said, my art of public speaking is going to do the magic. It didn't.
Talk me through some of these experiences, because I can feel...
Do we have to?
Not necessarily with the names. It's just for the benefit of knowing the depth of this itself.
All right.
I'm really curious when you say such a thing, because the way your facial expression when you touch this point, so different than before addressing this point itself.
Yeah. So you must know that there are a lot of failures. Failures I know of, failures I don't know of. I'll just tell you about one I know of. I wish I knew every failure. I wouldn't delay my success this long. Because not everybody reports to you that you have done not so good of a job, all right? Not everybody tells you. They will clap for you, they will give you a pat, they will thank you, but they won't tell you the truth. And that's why it's very important to have a mentor and have a coach and have people, at least friends who can give you feedback. So that day, 2014, I think, I was invited to speak to more than 100 medical students in one of the institutes. They had a program for them already, but they said, oh, Mohammed Shukri is coming. Can you give them? And they booked the next hall from another building so that they can accommodate all these huge numbers of students, because the institute classes weren't enough. And what do you want me to speak about? Public speaking, give us some tips, etc., and inspire the students, college students. I know what to do. I have my program. I went there. It was a big blow. It was a big failure. I came out. I told the teacher who arranged it, it wasn't that good. He said, no, it wasn't that good. I didn't expect. People who came also didn't see the Mohammed Shukri they heard about. Wow, so painful. And so I didn't study the audience well. I thought the product is enough. But the rule says what? The rule says, it's a very important rule in sales especially. I don't care about you. I don't care about your product. I only care what your product does for me. It's that me part we need to investigate very well. Even with a speech that has recorded a lot of success, you need to recustomize it, sit down again, and adjust it perfectly for the people you are speaking to. Do your math. Most of it is planning. Least part is delivering. Most of it is planning.
When you say planning, is it like look on these areas, write the speech, rehearse on it, read it a couple of times? What does that planning looks like in your perspective?
Very good. So that I call preparation. That is the preparation of the speech. Before preparation, there is planning.
Which goes finding the audience, how much the audience, how many people?
No. Before the planning also there is diagnosis.
Okay.
Assessment. So you need to ask a lot. Interview people. Dig deeper. Get information, get data. I remember even in Alba, I was delivering one of the safety trainings. It was a bit complicated training, so I became good at it. To the degree departments once wanted me to deliver that training more than any other safety trainer. So they just send an invitation, we book the room, and it's an 8-hour full day training where supervisors come and learn that procedure, and Mohammed Shukri was good. And then I received a weird invitation request from a department in Alba. That department was not eligible, or let us say they are outside the scope of this training. They do not need to learn this procedure because they will not implement it. And yet the manager has sent an invitation to his employees, you must attend so and so training, and I am usually the trainer. That was weird. How can I face for 8 hours 14 engineers who have no relation to this policy and will not apply it, and yet they will come there and sit. Imagine how will they sit. They will hate the whole day.
I can imagine, yeah.
But I couldn't refuse the training. I couldn't refuse. So I made my homework. And I discovered the reason why they were sent.
Through your questions, obviously.
Yeah, because it's very clear. Procedure says they don't have to come. But they are coming and their manager is forcing them. Guess what was the reason? It wasn't their manager. The manager was on his annual leave.
Wow.
There was an acting manager who filled for the manager. All right? And that acting manager wanted to do something good and put a good record when his manager comes back. And he wanted to go the extra mile. So he pressured his engineers to come attend something they don't have to. So this is the story. When we started the training, I didn't do it the usual way. And I opened a discussion with the engineers and made myself open to all these complaints. And I encouraged them to complain also. And I told them, what are you doing here? This training is not for you. That's how I started.
It's actually indirectly to understand their rationale of not accepting it and then dive down into your materials to go to those roots of their minds and then capitalize on it, isn't it?
Beautiful, beautiful, Mohammed. You got me there. And they started fuming and venting and saying, yeah, we shouldn't be here. And you know why? I said, why? Okay. And I empathized with them until they got cooled down. And then we had an agreement. Let us do it anyway. And I promise you, you engineers, it will be different. You know, Mohammed, when I finished that training, which was for the wrong audience, when the manager came back from his vacation, he called me in his office. He gave me what we say in Alba called golden card. I never got a golden card from delivering this training to any right audience. When I delivered it to the wrong department, I got a golden card. And I learned something very important. Do your homework. Ask who are you going to face, what are their challenges, their aspirations, and everything. The training, the speaking will come anyway, but it's who you are talking to.
So that is under the chapter or under the diagnosed, if we
Diagnosis.
can. So diagnose.
And then you plan. When you diagnose, now you know the problem, you go to your paper, and then you plan differently or adjust your planning. And then there is the preparation. Preparation in me, the last touch is the structure, and what wording you add, what examples you remove, what examples you add, depending on who's the audience, because not every example fits everyone. So that is preparation, planning. So we do a lot of things if we want to get the speaking engagement or task a good one, an excellent one.
Amazing. So if I had to be someone you would taught, and you want say I have no idea, zero idea about being a speaker or public speaker or any of that sort. And I was just, let's say I just open and pops up one of the Toastmaster videos and watch it and I get inspired and like, yeah, I want to be there. So what would be the stages for you to explain to an audience that they have no idea about speaking, for them at least to, it's like to inspire from your way of drafting this speech? So when the diagnosis ended, so please go take me through that process.
Mohammed, I feel this is a public speaking workshop. Yeah,
Maybe it is. Actually, you know what? I never tell you this, but it's actually more of that, because giving value back to the community, I think documenting such a great, talented speaker like you, and the hype is in a different level, especially with the podcast. And, people are racing to get famous people, to get... let me just say that my sole focus is to bring authentic people and learn from their experiences and give the community a value of the content they will not find elsewhere. And how would I commit to reach that? Is by getting the expert, the masters of their field, and get to know what is their perspective in life. And I'm really curious. And by the way, this is, I never saw this because off record, this is the first time I'm meeting you, because like I said, I heard a lot of you However, I had never met you. And
Yeah, this is our first meeting, imagine. Although we are in Bahrain, we are the Toastmasters, both of us.
No, man, nobody knows about it. So it's more of digging inside of you and understand the principle of you.
I think I didn't do my homework about you.
That's
But
maybe
I'm glad.
something.
I'm glad because you're bringing questions I never heard before in any podcast, and I am totally happy that people will benefit from this, because if I open workshops, which I don't do very frequently, how many people will come at the end of the day? Let this your podcast be a good reference for many people. I hope this. So number one, how do I? If people want to be a speaker, I ask them why. Why do you want to become a speaker? Do you know why? I want to speak. Why? If you have a good why, then come talk to me. First of all, you must know why. You don't just do something because others are doing it. All right? Because and once you find why, then I go to the next screening. What can you speak about? What can't you speak about? Okay? So I encourage them not to speak about anything. In fact, I tell them the first rule is don't speak. Don't speak. Why do you want to speak? I want to.
So you trigger their emotions.
It happened in Kuwait. I was doing some pitching training for pitching for investors, and one of the startups said, I want to speak. Give me one tip. I told them, don't speak. My tip for you is don't speak. How come? Don't speak. Until you can't. Don't speak until you can't not speak. When you reach to a point that you say, no, I must speak about, at least I must speak about this. What is this? If you find out what is this, then you go ahead and speak. Let me say this again. Don't speak. If you can, then you shouldn't speak. Until you cannot. When you cannot speak, you cannot keep quiet, and you cannot not speak, and you say, I have to speak, it will be because of a subject. There will be something you feel, I must speak about this. Okay, I will not speak about this. I can wait and not speak about this. I can keep this in me, but that part, this thing, I cannot keep inside of me. If you reach to that level, then you have captured the essence of speaking. Speaking is speak only about something. Again, I will quote Dale Carnegie. Your topic must be something that cannot be left unsaid. Please read the book. Your topic must be about a subject that cannot be left unsaid. Can you leave this thing unsaid? Then don't speak about it. But if you cannot leave this inside of you without speaking about it, then you captured it. And imagine how many of those things in us, it applies to only few things, not everything. We can hold so many things, but there are few things we cannot hold. These are your golden jewels. If you capture those things, your speaking will flourish. You don't need to come to me and say how to speak, because you cannot keep it. You will speak it. It will explode out of you. And when it explodes, ya Mohammed, when it explodes, nobody will ask, did you do the opening and body and conclusion? Nobody will ask. They will just enjoy, because you are dancing in the moment. And when you dance in the moment, you have no idea who's there. I'm sorry, I'm just going.
No. This is actually true. It's like when you become the master of art of what you do and deliver and perform. I will prepare the speech, and like you said, it's dancing. It's just not dancing. It's just like forget about stage fright, forget about who's listening, or forget about those things, forget about the times, forget about everything. You just sole focus is to inspire them and let them
Yeah.
take your speech and think about what they could do in their life and relate something as well. If you, I can really relate when it's come to, for example, I want to speak, for example, when of my lost weight journey, and then I want to inspire others to do the same. So my example will lead them to like, what about what I do not do correct, and what should I do correct? What is the lessons I learned from him and I practice? And I totally agree with you. I don't disagree. The only thing is when I had someone who's expert in their field, I really try to find out the purpose of them. And that's what led me to the question. Now, you at the beginning of the podcast, we spoke about how your passion drive you to be a speaker and the rationale behind you being a speaker. Then you drift a little bit by sharing that you then start teaching others speaking. So your roles has been shifted. So now the question is for you. Since you already also mentioned that you had read one of the books of Stephen Covey, so what is your purpose in life?
We didn't agree that we all talk about my purpose. But the question in itself is genuine. What is purpose actually? We have to know what is purpose. And nobody lives without a purpose. The difference is, do you know your purpose? Because some people live off purpose and some people live on purpose. Many people around us are living their purpose, but they don't know what is it. They're just living it. And that is the normal way, and that's the peaceful way. Our fathers, grandfathers, ancestors, they did all these things. We are very thankful to them. We are here because of them, of what they built to us. They never stopped and said, what is my purpose in my life? They just woke up in the morning and went to the field. They went to the factory. They went to wherever, to the offices, and they did what they had to do. And the results will come accordingly. They never stop and said, what is my purpose? Now, what is my purpose is a question that came in recent time only. This discussion is fresh, by the way. And we say that it has become a luxury question. If you have time to ask, what is your purpose? You are one of the fewer people who are very lucky to have food on the table and shelter, and you have, clothes, and you don't have to worry about your next meal. You worry about, what is my purpose? What am I doing on earth? If you ask that question, perhaps you are one of the 20% privileged in the world, because the 80% less privileged in the world, they don't have time to ask, what is my purpose? They just have to fight for their next meal. All right. So the purpose is defined not as a goal. A goal is what I want for myself, whether it helps other or doesn't help others, but it helps me. I like to get that one. All right. The person who created this mug, he created it for a purpose, to reach in my hand and I can put a liquid in it, hot or cold, and drink. So the creator, the maker of this mug, has fulfilled a purpose. So the mug has a purpose, all right? So you as a being, you are not the mug now, but you are a being. What purpose you serve? Meaning, who is benefiting from you being alive on this earth? Who exactly is benefiting from you being another number on this planet? Or else you are just a number. So I have another program also called Pursue Your Purpose. It has 3 stages. Don't take me there, all right? But long story short, a purpose is the meaning of you being on this planet, who someone else benefits from your being. if you find out your purpose, what you are really good at, and for whom, and what difference you can make, then your life and your career will always be something rewarding. We call it fulfillment in coaching. Fulfillment. And if you do that, as a speaker, let's go back to speaking. I teach in my public speaking, any speaker, do you have a purpose? What is your purpose? Because it will show when you speak. It will show. If you don't have a purpose, you don't identify your purpose, you might be beneficial. Of course, I'm not saying no. But people, when you speak, always people will know what is the cause you have. What do you live for? You know, a speaker is not just giving a number of programs, a number of portraits and beautiful art of speaking. No, but you can sense that consistently, anywhere he speaks, there is a theme in his speaking. That theme comes from your purpose. I help people also determine their purpose. While they want to pursue their speaking career, pursue their purpose also. Because it will make you alive on audience. With the audience, you'll be alive. I don't know if I answered the question.
It's a well-rounded question, but the reality is, what if I rephrase that question and ask you, what's your purpose being a speaker?
Okay. So it is becoming a bit more philosophical now, all right? So you asked for it, all right? You asked for it.
Go ahead.
I am discovering that after some time, just being who you are is the purpose, right? And doing what you ought to do, wake up in the morning. I'm just trying to be like our ancestors. Wake up in the morning and just for that day, do what you have to do. Now, I'm involved in a big project, training 3,000 employees in one of the major companies in Bahrain. And every day, me and my team deliver the same program, and I have my speaking part. It's the same segment I say every day. For 60 sessions, I have to do this, covering 3,000 employees. Of course, there are activities, etc. But that part, when I deliver a keynote, I have to do it the same way every day. Someone came to me the other day and said, really? This is day 22 and we are with you day 22. He is on day 22. Every day another batch comes, different people.
Okay.
He said, really? You have done this for the past 21 days? You say the same story? I said, yes. It doesn't, you don't look like. You look like you're saying it just now, fresh. How come you don't get bored? How come you don't lose passion? How come your energy doesn't drain? How do you repeat the same thing and you still look fresh and alive? And I'm answering him now. I couldn't answer him there. But because your podcast is very deep and profound, I can say this. Because every time I live what I have done, and I live the purpose of this is my job. I know when I tell this story, it inspires people, transforms people, changes, shifts the paradigms, right? And I can see that. I don't know what will happen later on, where this person will go, but I know I have to do this. So sometimes you reach a point where what you do is the purpose. You have joy in doing it. I give an example that when you go to shoemakers in the old market, part of the market, there are still people who make shoes. Usually they are old people. And he loves what he's doing. You ask, how come there are shoe factories? You still make shoes. And regardless of the reward and the payment, he finds joy in doing it. And of course, there are reasons for that beyond just loving what you do. But they love what they do for a reason. One of the reasons is that the shoemaker creates the shoe from zero, from scratch, until it's full. So he looks at the shoe when it was nothing, and then it is a full shoe, and then says, "Sir, your shoes are ready," and you put your feet inside. And he said, "Look, wow." He looks at this. He's loving the whole thing, because Muhammad, he is seeing the whole process. He is seeing the big picture. Compare him with a worker in a shoe factory who only makes the laces and doesn't see the whole process.
Yeah.
He's bored, doing the same thing. And my question is, do you see the whole picture of your being? Can you see and can you define and identify why you are here on this planet? Can you go a little bit wider, bigger, deeper, broader than where you are at this moment, and see who is benefiting from what you do? This podcast will not stay here. We'll go home tonight, but someone on the other end will listen and take something and benefit from it. And this brings joy to you.
100%. And that's one of the core values. I remember actually when I had been asked this question, I really love this conversation, and I wish this conversation go on and on and on, because the lesson learned and lessons I'm about to learn in the couple of last minute is magnificent. The only thing is that, the racing of the ideas, but I often try also to, to have, just like you, when you're about to draft a plan of, let's say, a speech. I go the same scenario, but in my way. It's podcast a little bit different than delivering a speech. However, I want to touch upon that when misunderstanding from community. So I can tell from the way you're expressing this idea and this philosophy of yours. Always, I have often noticed that people perceive things and they would believe and think in a certain way, and they would have this question. And I'm sure that interaction with that gentleman who comes to you and asks you for the 22 days that you did this 22 days, and this, I feel like it's happening just now. It feels like you had naturally draft this and bring it live. Just, I feel like it has been established just now. So in your opinion, what are the things that the perception or misperception cause people to think of you? So why do you think that people will have to misunderstand all the time about this? And I'm sure you've been training for a really long time. So through your interaction, I believe that there is a couple of people that you had met, and there's like, why do you do this? Or how come you got this? Or what was the story behind you? So if we have to label misconception, in your opinion, what is the way going forward to solve that so that it does not repeat again?
I'm trying to grasp the essence of your question, all right? But I'm happy that the tango that we are doing here, all right, it's helping regardless, all right?
Wait, sorry to interrupt you, but what do you mean by tango?
Tango, dance.
Okay.
It takes two to tango.
Okay.
We say, right?
I relate. What do you mean?
Okay. So I think this conversation, even it's not, it doesn't go where we planned. It's going somewhere else, and I'm glad. I'm open. And there are misconceptions. When you choose to face audience, you have to take the whole package and accept what it brings with it. Okay? Mm-hmm. So people will have their judgments about you. People will have their preconceived notions about you. I'll give you an example. One of the trainings I had to do for a group of managers of, let us say, brand restaurants in Bahrain back in 2015. And a training was 2 days. And one of the managers was a Filipina lady. Manager, supervisor, something like this. I came day one, entered the room. Some of the attendees were there. Some of them were coming. I didn't start yet. Put my laptop, started training. Finished day one. Day two, they came. That was only 2 days training. It was about coaching skills. Coaching skills for managers and team leaders. And on day 2, right around the breakfast time, the break it was 10:30, I said, okay guys, let's break now. Let's go for coffee and some snacks. So they have to leave the room and go outside the hall in the corridor and eat and drink. I was following them. Almost all of them left, except this lady, Filipina. She didn't leave. I said, ma'am, you're not going? She said, I want to go, but I have a confession.
A confession?
Yes. Wow. I have a confession to make to you. She didn't have to, but she did. She said that. She said, Mr. Mohammed, when you entered day 1, we didn't know who's the trainer. But when you entered the door and we came to know that you are the trainer, I was very disappointed. I was totally disappointed. And I sat there while you were preparing your laptop and I said, our trainer is a Bahraini trainer? What a waste of my time. That's what she told me. If it's a Bahraini trainer, I'm going to lose 2 days of my life and I'm going to learn nothing. Painful to me until today. It's very painful. So when you finish day 1, I had a paradigm shift. My opinion totally changed. I actually called my supervisor, the person who's head of me. I said to him, I want to thank you for sending me to one of the best trainings in my life. But 1 day ago, she said it's going to be a waste of time. Now, as sweet end it has at the end, there is something in between that is painful. People make judgments about you. Even before they hear you, they will say, oh, he's Arab. Oh, he's Indian. Oh, he's American. I don't know what. Sometimes they take you way high where you don't deserve. Sometimes they take you way low where you don't deserve. So when we design a speech with my clients, I really bring their attention to this part. You need to communicate to the people in a way that they know you. That's why Aristotle, in Arabic we say Aristo, his method of communication more than 2,000 years until now, it's one of the most robust methods. And it has 3 pillars: pathos, ethos, logos. We know what is logos, which means logic and mind. So in your speech, there must be, in your communication and speech, there must be something that feeds the mind of the listener. Pathos is passion and emotions. So emotions should be there. So what is ethos? The unattended to part. Everybody says, okay, my speech has to be logic and emotion. But there is a third part which is more important than both. Ethos is referred to as the credibility. Regardless of the speech, of the emotions and the mindset, who are you? Do we know who you are? So when you go there, like a doctor, we trust and take any medicine, any prescription, because we know him already. We don't ask questions, right?
Correct.
Likewise, you are a doctor, but a speaker, and your prescription, which comes in terms of concepts and tools and motivation and inspiring, also these are medicines, which people will choose to take or not to take if they don't know you well. So what will you do? So we design, either they know you before, and when you enter the room, oh, we have that speaker, which most of the cases not. Or let us know you during the speech. Okay, stay with me. So you plant something in the speech to give people confidence who you are. We call it a story. But not any story. I'm not talking about the inspirational story. We call it the background story. You watch TED Talk speeches?
Not all, but I watched a couple of them.
Any TED Talk speech you watch, you will almost 99% of them, they do this. Even a fraction of a second, a minute. The speaker, before he goes or she goes into the core of the speech, they say something about their background. Now, it depends what type of a speech, workshop, seminar you have. There are different levels, formats, lengths, durations. But you have to know who you are speaking to, and you have to reassure them that you are in safe hands listening to me. Many speakers don't do this. And if they do it the wrong way. They click a slide which has all my 75 clients. You think that will create credibility? And how many people will say,
what an ego.
Yeah. So the art of public speaking.
They're flabbergasted for that, obviously. And the other one, like...
And that has backfired for some time. Because people say, why is he speaking about himself?
Correct.
But those are the ones not used to this. Because in our environment, in the Arab world, I'm telling you, we are not used to this very much, all right? We either speak all the time about ourselves or nothing. But no, there's a portion which is studied well, structured well, just for people to relax and feel they are in safe hands. So if you talk about misconceptions, this is one of the biggest misconceptions I face.
Wow. And it's such a great way to introduce the credibility into a whole new prospect. In my opinion, it's like, wow, you really open my heart, my thoughts into things that I never thought of, and I can't thank you enough. Now, I will ask you the last question from the things that I have noticed.
You promise it's the last?
This is the last question. I promise that, because this is something I had kept it to the last for a purpose, actually. And I just wanted to know is basically when you had started your career, and then you being a Toastmaster, and you evolve in speaking, and then you go back to the training as well, and then you go a little bit away from speaking and you focus more in training. But then in 2020 you come back and you had applied for and actually, by the way, I should say this in the beginning of this podcast, how my apologies to the audience that I have not done. Mohamed Shukri is the first Arabic to be accredited speaker by Toastmasters International, and he got the accreditation back to 2020.
So that's a very good question. I was afraid you don't come to it.
No. It is one of the pillars, actually. But
I like what you said about training. So why training is more popular than speaking, at least in our region? We have all the framework because it's very well engrossed in our procedures and our legalities, legal requirements. Training has a place, has a market, has standards, and has clients, all right? So everything fits well. Like school, training is available for adults. When you say speaking, however, it is coming in a very random way. It doesn't have a very clear framework or industry. If you go speak anywhere, you speak. University, you speak. Conference, you speak. Occasion, you speak. That's a speaking. Why you are making a big deal out of a speaking? If we go to the West, it's more structured and established, and it has a market and it has a framework, etc. So when I came back and I started speaking, I didn't see the platform, the foundation, holding me as a speaker. You want to become a trainer? Welcome. Speaker, we don't have something called speaking, all right? You want to get paid for speaking? Do it in training phase. Good? So no matter how much passionate we are about speaking, at the end of the day, we have to put it in a framework that the client understands. You mean workshop, huh? Workshop, okay, workshop, yes. Speech, you can come for free. Although the amount of work we put on a speech is not little, by the way. And a speaker cannot resort to games and activities. His hand is away from that. And that means you put more effort to create the influence you want, but not through training. Now it's changing. So I insisted on that. I feed my trainings with the speaking also, a mix of speaking and training. And it became, my trainings have a different flavor. And now speaking, I insist to my clients, I will give you the result, the solution, the impact, the shift you want, the change you want, the transformation through my own frame. It might be speaking, it might be a mix of speaking and training. So I tried hard, but it's not easy because also speakers, professional full-time speakers struggled. So until in 2016, I woke up on a request from a Toastmaster who said, why don't you pursue accredited speaker? What's accredited speaker? It's a designation from Toastmasters International. I didn't hear of that. I know public speaking champion. And I searched and explored, and it is a designation given to Toastmasters members who prove that they are contributing to their field of expertise outside Toastmasters walls. And they speak to non-Toastmasters and they get paid for it, which is basically professional speaking. So you know something very well, you are an expert in a subject, but you're not only an expert in a subject, but you also speak about it and influence people. If you do that and practice that, and you show us evidence of doing that, and the evidence is mentioned in the rule book, then you are eligible to earn the designation of accredited speaker, which means we, Toastmasters International, approve you, see you through our rigorous and diligent criteria that you are a professional speaker. In other words, they call it accredited speaker. So I pursued it. I started the journey. It took me 5 years. And nonetheless, it was a very good experience. And although what I do before getting the designation is just like what I do after the designation and the journey taught me a lot. And I came back from 2020, and I urge everyone in my field of Toastmasters, get out while you are a member, not get out as a member, but while you are a member, and help your field. Go to your community. Are you in medicine? Are you in in architecture? Are you in IT? Are you in finance? I don't know. Why you speak about it only to your club members? Why don't you speak about your expertise to those who need it most? And this is my purpose after becoming an accredited speaker.
Wow. What a way to tell me that. You know what? This is my purpose, and enough more with the question.
No. I have something to add. All right. Just. And to non-Toastmasters, you don't have to be a Toastmaster to serve your community.
Yeah.
Start adding speaking, just a portion of it, to your career. And the amount of people and the scope of purpose will be much wider. Just add speaking, a bit of speaking to your career, and watch how you grow, and watch how people grow. So it's not only Toastmasters. Yeah. Get out of your comfort zone.
I like that. And actually, it's one of the things I never told you before, because after I'm going to say graduated from Toastmaster. After I got inspired from Toastmaster, the idea of the podcast come alive. And it's because of this, I built this. And I don't think I had shared this before, but I think this is a precious moment in my journey in podcasting. I get to do this after I got rejection of when I brought this idea live. So I'm really proud that I didn't kept obstacles, challenges, whatever it is in my face, and instead of thinking of why not? And honestly, that's the main things that is like when I had the plan in hand, why not pursue something? Because I was so inspired by the Toastmasters. Although I haven't spent that long, but I spent a quality time with the right people. So that's what I think shaped me or helped me to create all of that from scratch. What a great way to end this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's a huge privilege to meet the guru finally, in person, flesh and blood, listening to him and understand his perspective and the way of thought. My dear guest, anything you want to say to the audience before we close the end?
Well, I like to end usually with my quote. My favorite quote I reach to after a long time. It characterizes what I do. And I would like anyone who hears this, if you follow this as a rule of thumb, you will be very successful in your speaking career if you love. Because usually people who hear this are, keen on speaking. So let's talk to them. I'd rather live my speech and not give it than give my speech and not live it. I'd rather live my speech and not give it than give my speech and not live it. Live your life, speak what you live, and you will bring hearts and minds to life.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribe, because my promise is the bigger the audience get, the bigger guests get. And we don't want to promise something that we can't do. Is actually we gonna inspire the next generation to what we do. And that's how I see it from my perspective. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate tuning in to this podcast. Give likes, comment, tell us what you think. And most obviously, I'm going to link all the social media handles of Mr. Or Distinguished Toastmasters or the DTM.
Thank you.
Mohamed Shukri in the description below. And DTM, I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. All the best.